Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! 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 Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we're going to keep on pushing through our week of professional wrestlers, either starring in or heavily featured in Christmas movies, and we're going to take a look at I Am Santa Claus, starring Mick Foley, Russell Spice, Jim Stevenson, Frank Pascuzzi, Bob Girardi, Rob Feigley, Jerry Lawler, Tommy Dreamer, and Brian the Blue Meanie Heffron. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And as I said in the introduction, we're going to keep on pushing through this week of professional wrestlers starring in or featured in Christmas movies. And we're going to take a look at the documentary I Am Santa Claus, which more or less chronicles Mick Foley's journey to becoming the Man in Red. Now, everyone thinks of Santa Claus as this magical figure without flaws, while in reality, the mall Santa in your cherished children's photo has problems just like the rest of us. Our movie is a documentary that follows the lives of 4 real bearded professional Santa Clauses and 1 former professional wrestler who is contemplating becoming a professional Santa himself, as they anticipate the coming holiday season while showing the world who they actually are. Flawed, flesh and blood men who feel an overbearing responsibility to protect the integrity of the spotless reputation of the red suit. We meet Russell Spice from Sterling Heights, Michigan. Now, Russell is a former caterer who is living off of his retirement. Over the course of the year, Russell attends the 2012 Jim Yelig Workshop, which is a 3-day Santa Claus convention which takes place in Santa Claus, Indiana. Upon arriving, he discovers that another Santa, named Frank, is his roommate. Now, Russell's roommate, Frank Pascuzzi, is from Long Island, New York, and we first meet him as he is going to the DMV in order to legally change his name to Santa Claus. Frank tells us that he noticed an immediate change in people's perception of him once he bleached his long black hair and beard to a more Santa-esque shade. Back at the Jim Yelig Workshop, we discover that some of the members of the Fraternal Order of Real Bearded Santas have a concern about their new fraternity president, Rob Feigley, who's a swinger. As a result of the swinging Santa stigma, Frank sits down with Santa Rob in order to try and find out all of the information about his lifestyle from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and the two end up bonding. Now, Russell has a hard time seeing the mold of Santa as anything but a good Christian man. After the Jim Yelig Workshop, Russell returns to Michigan in order to begin looking at mobile homes for him to move into due to his limited income, while Frank returns to Long Island and considers first starting a catering company, with the end game being a restaurant in order to serve his barbecue meats. Unfortunately, Russell is on the verge of bankruptcy, as the Bass Pro Shop in New York that he worked at the year prior doesn't want him back this year, and unless he can find another store to work at, he won't have the money to move into the mobile home. Luckily, his agent is able to secure him a gig in a Minnesota mall just in the nick of time. In Fort Worth, Texas, we meet Jim Stevenson, a gay Santa who participates in his local bear community and was even voted Mr. Polar Bear. Jim poses for photos used in magazines distributed throughout the bear community, as well as being an antique dealer. Jim tells us about how he got his Santa suit for only $30, and then proceeds to tell us about his boyfriend, Alex, who he calls his special boy. Jim then heads to the TBRU, the Texas Bear Roundup, which is a convention of sorts for the bear community. Despite being a gay Santa, he is still very religious and even portrays Santa for the church children. Meanwhile, in La Habra, California, we're introduced to Bob Girardi, who, despite living in Southern California, still feels like he is that hillbilly that he once was from West Virginia. Rob is a real estate agent as well as a photographer for the mall Easter Bunny, which allows him a different perspective for being on both sides of the Santa lifestyle. Bob is also a little bit of a singer, and with his friend Gary, who is also a Santa, the two make a CD of Christmas carols to try and sell throughout the year. Lastly, we're introduced to Mick Foley, who discusses what Christmas means to him as well as his family. Now, he has always been Mick Foley as Santa Claus, or Saint Mick. So he desires to see if he has what it takes to actually become Santa. Mick goes to a tailor in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who is in charge of designing his Santa Claus suit. And he then travels to Grayslake, Illinois, in order to collect tips from a local Santa, Dana Kaplan, who professionally mentors potential Santas. While visiting Santa's village in New Hampshire, Mick gets a little bit of practice in with his son, Huey. See, Mick is going to get the opportunity to portray Santa for a few hours at the amusement park. On Christmas Eve, Mick desires to give his son Nicky one more special moment with Santa, as he's almost at that age where he's too old. So Mick decides to put his suit on in order to give him that special moment. But Nicky is too smart, and he realizes that it's his dad. However, all of a sudden, there arose such a clatter in an upstairs room. So the Foleys dart upstairs and discover Santa Frank, who all the kids believe to be the real Santa. We then see a little video montage of sorts of all the different Santas that we've met performing, getting ready for Christmas throughout the month of December, getting to bring the joy and the laughter to the children's faces as our movie comes to its end. This is about the third or the fourth time that I have sat down and watched I Am Santa Claus. Ever since discovering it, I've tried to make it a yearly tradition for me because I love Christmas that much. And while some people may think that it's, a great and powerful Oz situation where now you're paying attention to the man behind the curtain instead of the magical illusion that's in front of you, being the age that I am, being just that close to 50 years old, I obviously get it already. But to see what the joy of Christmas brings to these men that make a living, bringing the joy of Christmas, not just to us as the parents, but to our kids around the world. I feel, as a huge fan of Christmas, I feel like I owe it to these men to watch this movie on a regular occasion and remind myself that at the end of the day, just like any celebrity in society, these are real men, real individuals with real problems. And they deserve their little bit of free time that they have throughout the year just as much as the rest of us do. Watching Mick and his journey throughout the course of the movie Now, if I'm being honest, the movie does cut around a bit. I just tried to condense everything for each Santa into paragraphs so that we weren't consistently hopping around with nonlinear storytelling. So I tried to make it as easy to follow as possible. But just watching the journey of Mick Foley, who obviously, as a professional wrestling fan, very familiar with. I've met Mick on a couple of occasions, but he's always been one of those guys that you could just feel the warm and fuzzy exuding from him. You know, he's he's got that personality all the time where you knew if you've ever followed Mick, if you've ever read any of Mick's books, you know how much he loves Christmas anyways. You don't need to see this documentary to see it. So if there's anybody out there that is a celebrity that you believe could be that purveyor of Santa Claus, Mick Foley is the guy. So getting to see his journey to that, getting to see him at Santa's village in the chair with various children sitting on his lap and the way that he talks to them, so good, so heartwarming. It just gives you that warm and fuzzy inside, like you just took a nice first sip of some cocoa or some apple cider. And it just warms the soul. When it comes to my rating for I Am Santa Claus, uh, I gotta be honest with y'all. This movie is 4.5 out of 5 stars for me. I'm not really sure what holds me back from giving it that extra half a star to make it a 5 star, because maybe it's just because it's a documentary. I feel like it can't be the perfect movie because at the end of the day, it's all edited through one person's perspective. But I really enjoy this movie. And like I said, I try to watch it every year, if at all possible. Right now, this movie is free across a bunch of streaming platforms. You're not going to find it on Hulu or Netflix or anything like that. But if you have Tubi or Vudu or things like that, it's free to watch right now. So if you've never seen it, check it out. Look at the struggle and the things that these guys go out through the course of the year. It's an eye opener. It really is. What did you guys think, those of you that have seen I Am Santa Claus? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. But let's have that conversation, that discussion, that debate, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in at the top of the hour, right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, as it'll be time to once again open the doors to Stat Boys Sports Bar, featuring Dory Lou. The food is hot, the beer is ice cold, and the seats are warm, so pull up a bar stool and join in the festivities as Stat Boy Mike Caldwell, Dory Lou, and their panel of cohorts discuss the week in professional sports. And then tomorrow will be another all-new installment of Renegades Reviews, and we're definitely going to be discussing a Christmas classic, a modern Christmas classic, if you will. We'll be discussing Jingle All the Way, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sinbad, Phil Hartman, Rita Wilson, Jake Lloyd, Robert Conrad, Jim Belushi, Martin Mull, Harvey Korman, Lorraine Newman, Richard Mall, Vern Troyer, and Paul the Giant White. You're not going to want to miss out on any of that content right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. We got more episodes of Renegades Reviews, Stat Boy Sports Bar featuring Dory Lou, and so much more content both this week and this month. You don't want to miss out on any of it. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out on a single video that drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Open Mic Night, Statboy Sports Bar, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles, anybody you can think of that would enjoy this. Fans of pro wrestling and Mick Foley, fans of Santa Claus and the Santa Claus story, fans of documentaries. Share it with them. It's the only way we're going to boost up my visibility in YouTube's algorithms so I can eventually get monetized and make some money on these videos. Thank you once again to everyone who joined me and tuned in today. It means more to me than you'll ever know. And I will see you guys next time.